Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of Scouting 5, recapping scouting news from around the world for the week of November 16th, 2020. I'm Scouter Ken, and I am once again recording from St. Albert, Alberta. More news in the ongoing and shifting, sometimes week-to-week changes that we are seeing in Scouts Canada with regards to whether meetings can be held in person or not. Scouts Canada's Central Escarpment Council, another Ontario-based council, announced just on Sunday that in consideration of announcements made last week by the Government of Ontario and the Medical Officer of Health for the Halton region of Ontario, that they have made the decision to suspend all in-person scouting activities in the Halton region. This includes towns and cities like Burlington, Oakville, Milton, Georgetown, and Halton Hills. Effective last Sunday. Groups based in the region are encouraged to focus on virtual scouting activities until further notice. And this also applies to groups in the Peel region who were already doing virtual-only activities and will continue doing so. So, unfortunate, as coronavirus cases do spike in some regions of Canada, that we are seeing more councils move back from in-person scouting to virtual-only scouting. But such is the nature of things at this time, and hopefully these lockdown measures will serve to stem the rising number of cases of the virus, enabling councils to return to in-person meetings with all due haste. Meanwhile, over in British Columbia, Scouts will also not be meeting in person, and this is evidently a more or less province-wide declaration covering all of the Cascadia Council. This was handed down on November 13th, actually, so last Friday. They do not have a set end date, but they do hope to return to Stage 2, which would at least allow for some in-person meetings outdoors as soon as possible. But for the time being, they are at Stage 1, virtual scouting only, until such time as case numbers in the British Columbia region improve. The Boy Scouts of America are facing at least 92,700, that is a staggering number, claims of sexual abuse, as former Scouts have submitted filings against the organization as part of its bankruptcy proceedings. There was an initial estimate of 82,000 claims. That was released last Sunday. But this updated number, nearly 93,000, was issued by the bankruptcy court after the 5 p.m. deadline for submitting claims elapsed last Monday. And again, that is just an absolutely shocking, devastating number of lives impacted by abuse that happened through the scouting organization. Now, it is worth noting that these cases aren't exactly a normal court proceeding. The organization, of course, as we covered in Scouting 5 episodes, filed for bankruptcy back in February in response to then hundreds of lawsuits. The bankruptcy filing put a lot of those on hold, and kind of moving on into the year, testimony indicated that the organization believed that at least 7,800 of its former leaders had abused at least 12,000 children since the late 1940s. Some states, New York especially, enacted legislation that gave survivors of abuse the opportunity to come forward with such claims as this for a much longer window than they would normally have been allowed previously, and that's why you're seeing all of these cases now being brought against the Boy Scouts. But how those claims will proceed is a little bit different. The claims will now be handled through bankruptcy court rather than via civil proceedings. On the plus side, for the victims, this means that their lives will not be scrutinized to nearly the same degree that they would be in a full court case. But on the other hand, they won't have a jury trial, which for some of them might mean that, there's sort of an incomplete closure to this unfortunate chapter of their lives. And finally, if you're in Winnipeg, you may be interested to know that the 67th Winnipeg Scout Group will be launching their annual sale of Christmas trees on November 21st, albeit they will be making a few changes to how they go about that due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. This is actually the 56th year that the group is holding its tree sale in the parking lot of the River Heights site of the Corydon Community Centre. And as you can imagine, of course, like most scout groups across Canada, the 67th has seen their fair share of struggles due to the pandemic. They, like all the rest of us, suffered a complete shutdown of activities for several months. though they have been able to restart meetings in recent weeks. Planning, however, is week to week. Meetings are either in person and outdoors or online, depending on what gathering restrictions are in place. And as we've covered in the news stories even earlier in this episode, those can change on a dime. Now, normally, the group would draw up a big sheet of paper with around 70 volunteer shifts, which would be filled by up to about 200 volunteers. And then they would, walk that around to meetings held by the Beavers, the Cubs, Scouts, Vents, and Rovers to make sure that, they had volunteers lined up for every shift at the tree lot, and then the tree lot would open up. They should have already actually received the first shipment of trees as I'm recording this. That was slated for November 17th. Hopefully it went through without a hitch. They will also, the tree lot is actually run, how they've set it up is kind of interesting because there's actually a local Winnipeg charity called the Friends of 67, which runs the lot. And then, of course, the 67 supplies the volunteers to help at the lot. They put up fences and racks and lights and signs. This year, however, instead of, allowing people to come in and browse the trees and pick the right one, the Scouts are offering either a delivery service or curbside pickup for trees, wreaths, and tree bags. They'll have an online form available for those who want their tree delivered. Now, unfortunately, tree prices have jumped up a little bit from last year, about $3 to $5 per tree, but they're hoping that their regular customers will continue to buy trees from them, either opting for delivery to the home or else for curbside pickup of a tree. And that is all the news I have for you this week. Thank you again for listening, and until next time, be prepared.